So one of the things that annoys me most about society these days is that everything has to be tailored to the lowest common denominator of intelligence. No matter where you go, everything has to be idiot-proof to the max, to the point where common sense is almost expected to be absent. When did we get to the point where you can sue a restaurant because you burnt yourself spilling the coffee you bought and win the case because apparently, even though you ordered hot coffee, there wasn't a warning telling you it was hot? These days, everything is plastered in ridiculous warnings that anyone with an ounce, even an ounce of common sense would know to look out for. When I travel, I usually watch cable TV in the hotel because it's a hotel room, there's nothing to do. And every medication commercial that comes on, without fail, always includes the warning at the end, do not take this medication if you are allergic to it. When did we get to the point where someone can win in court and sue over this kind of stuff? Because, that's why these companies include this warning. Like, airtime is expensive. No company is going to give you a warning that obvious out of the kindness of their heart because they're genuinely concerned for your safety. And anyone who takes this medication, knowing they're allergic, honestly, they deserve what's coming to them. Now, you might say, yeah, it's pretty stupid, but these things don't actually affect us, so why are you pissed off about it? Well, that's where you're wrong. It does affect normal people. Some of my neighbors recently put in a pool in their backyard, right? They've been wanting to do so for a while, and they finally pulled the trigger and began the construction. And it took a few months because of all sorts of delays, but anyway, they finally got it done and were ready to use it. However, the home insurance company wasn't happy about this, and they informed the neighbors that if they wanted to stay insured, they needed to also build a fence around the pool. Their reasoning for this was that if some neighborhood kid decides to sneak into their yard to use the pool unbeknownst to them and drowns, they can't be held responsible technically because the fence counts as a safety barrier in a court case. Now, any person with even an ounce of common sense would say that a fence shouldn't be necessary. Parents should be keeping an eye on their young kids, making sure they don't do dangerous stuff like climb into a pool without an adult. I mean, one time I was younger, with my brother at a neighbor's house, and my dad was there too, right? And they had a pool, and my little brother decided to jump in the pool not knowing how to swim. And the second it happened, my dad just immediately jumped in the pool right after him. He had just gotten home from work. He was still wearing his suit and tie and everything. But still, he was there. He jumped in, pulled my brother out, Like, parents should be watching their kids to make sure that kind of thing doesn't happen. And if the person in question was older, knowing better, then it would still be their fault because 1, they know better, and 2, the pool is on private property, so using it without the owner's permission would be trespassing. Either way, in my opinion, the person who owned the pool, it's not their fault in this situation. If you can't swim, you shouldn't be trespassing to use the neighbor's pool. If you're too young to know any better, your parents should be keeping an eye on you to stop this type of thing before it happens. But at some point in legal history, some lawyer put up a good enough fight in court prosecuting for some stupid drowned idiot, and now everyone who wants to own a pool has to fork out the extra cash for a fence as well. Now, you might say, why not just go with a different insurance company? But the thing is, I'm pretty sure they all follow the same pool requires a fence policy around here. I hadn't really thought about it before, but I went and took a look, and basically every house in my neighborhood and the surrounding neighborhoods that have a pool also have a fence. I know a lot of people who buy pools prefer to place a fence around them anyway, so that could account for it, but I still find it strange that there isn't at least one pool not surrounded by some sort of fence anywhere near me. Here's another example of one clumsy guy ruining the fun for the rest of us. A friend of mine was on a road trip, and his family stopped to visit this giant abandoned mining excavator. It was hauled out to a mining site apparently, and then was left there because it was more money than it was worth to move the dang thing somewhere else. I mean, that should just speak for the size in itself. Anyway, it's been there for decades, and the thing is, absolutely massive. It's a unit, right? It's like a giant one of these, but the scoop can fit several pickup trucks inside it, so it's pretty big. Now, for years and years, people were allowed to explore every inch of the thing, from the bottom up to the very top. It's a very cool landmark, and it must have been pretty fun to explore. But one day, some guy who had climbed to the very top fell off, and sadly, he died. Just a quick correction. It turns out that the guy didn't actually fall off, but he was base jumping, which, if you don't know, I didn't actually know this, I had to ask. It means jumping off a building or another high object with a parachute, so skydiving without a plane, basically. And he, for some reason, thought that this piece of machinery was big enough to jump off of, so just a quick correction there. Now, instead of installing a guardrail or placing a warning sign about falling off and declaring the owners of the property not liable for injury, you just aren't allowed to climb to the top anymore. years and years without incident, and one accident ruins it for the rest of us. Now, I'm not trying to, like, make light of, like, these types of, like, injuries or deaths that people receive. Like, it's obviously, like, a serious thing. Like, you know, a guy died. But, I mean, is that, like, really a reason to, like, close something off to everybody else? Especially if now they've seen that, okay, a guy died doing this. Maybe we should be careful when we're doing this. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And I think that, I guess by having everything so baby-proofed, it's not really encouraging people to use common sense, right? People aren't going to use something because people are lazy. They're not going to use something unless they have to. So if everything is so baby-proof that there's no reason to use common sense, it's just going to die out. And, like, it doesn't really help that everyone is so afraid of getting sued for when somebody does do something stupid or one of these accidents that could have probably been avoided do happen. Everyone's so afraid of getting sued over it because people don't want to take responsibility for their actions that even the people who do believe in, like, common sense and stuff like this aren't going to take the risk. So I guess it's just one big predicament. Anyway, I guess this style of video has just been me talking out of my ass for 6 minutes now. So yeah, just tell me if you like this type of video. Most of it's I did write a script for it, kind of, but this last part has been unscripted because I'm too lazy to go and write anymore. So yeah, I hope you liked it. Have a good day.